What is going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the TCO Fantasy Football Show. We don't have a camera over there today. I'm just looking at you guys head on. And on today's episode, we are going to be doing a Dynasty rookie fantasy football mock draft where we're going to be looking at these running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks. We're not really going to be looking at the tight ends, but if there were good tight ends, we would be looking at them. And before we get into today's episode, I need you guys to go and follow the TikTok. I know some people here are probably from the TikTok, and you could ask them. They probably love it. I'm posting on there so much. It's wonderful, and you got to go follow it. You got to follow it. It's great content, wonderful content. So let's push that out of the way, and let's get into today's episode. As you guys can see, we are using the Sleeper website here. I think this is the best platform to use for Dynasty, and they have this mock draft thing here where we could do our rookie mock draft. And so we're using that. And so we are going to claim Team 3, but we're going to be picking for all of these guys, so it really doesn't matter. And you might be wondering, how am I ranking these guys? Am I ranking them on talent? Am I ranking them off of a mock draft? What am I ranking them off of? And so I found a mock draft that I sort of liked, and I thought it was I thought it might have been accurate, so I wrote down where the guys were going, and I'm going to just tell you guys who's going where, like to what team they got mocked to. I think that makes sense, yeah. So, starting off the list, we got Jameson Williams going to the Saints, Garrett Wilson to the Falcons, Drake London to the Eagles, Treylon Burks to the Packers, Christian Watson to the Jets, Olave to the Patriots, Jahan Dotson to the Chiefs, Sky Moore to the Lions, Pickens to the Bears, David Bell to the Vikings, and that was about it for the wide receivers. I didn't need to go much farther than that for the first round. And for the quarterbacks, we got Malik Willis falling to the Saints, Matt Corral going to the Steelers, Desmond Ridder to the Titans, which was the only weird thing I saw in this mock draft, but it's whatever. Kenny Pickett to the Panthers, and for the running backs, I thought there were only 3 relevant guys. So Breece Hall to the Bills, yes, the Buffalo Bills, the perfect landing spot. Kenneth Walker to the Texans, and Isaiah Spiller to the Saints. Those were the 3 running backs that I wrote down. And yeah, let's start this mock draft. Let's do it. Let's see. I don't really use this platform very often, so hopefully this works, and we're hitting OK. And we're on the clock. Okay, so the first pick is obvious. I know who I want to pick here. I think everybody knows who needs to be picked here, especially if he lands up on the Buffalo Bills. It's got to be Breece Hall. We got to make... Oh. Okay. Well, we got to make Breece Hall go at this pick just because it's Breece Hall. Wow. I don't know if it's wow, but Breece Hall at 1. It's an obvious selection. The guy has great numbers. He produced in college. He looks great. He looks great. He's the undisputable number 1 guy in this rookie draft. Now, here's where it gets a little complicated. Who's 2 through 12? Who is 2 through 12 in this draft? I know who number 2 is if he lands on this team. And somebody might be wanting to take a running back here. But I don't think a running back should be going at 1, 2. I think it should be a wide receiver, a franchise wide receiver for your Dynasty team. And if Treylon Burks ends up on the Packers, we got to go with Treylon Burks to the Packers. Like, what? What? He's not my favorite wide receiver in this class, even though everybody and their mother loves him. He's not my favorite wide receiver in this class just because he's a little bit of a raw talent. I don't think he's the best guy. Talent-wise, I don't think he's the best guy in this class. But he's going to be in the best situation with Aaron Rodgers, and there's so many vacated targets in Green Bay. So if Treylon Burks ended up on the Packers, I hope he's the number 2 pick in your draft. Because if they let him fall, there is an issue. I think they're going to say wow after every single pick. But let's keep this thing going. The third pick. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. We got choices here. We got Drake London, who went to the Eagles. We got Garrett Wilson, who went to the Falcons. And Kenneth Walker, who went to the Texans. Who is going to produce for you? I think we can make an argument for taking any one of these guys at the 1-3. And it depends on what situation your team's in. If you need a running back, Kenneth Walker here makes sense. He's on that Texans team, and yeah, there's a plenty big share for him to go. There's plenty of work to go around for Kenneth Walker on the Houston Texans, And I know there are a lot of running backs on that team, but they'll probably cut some if they ended up getting him, I would assume. That would make the most sense to me, but maybe not. But yes, I think Kenneth Walker at 1-3 makes sense. And so that's what we're going with here. We're going to go Kenneth Walker 1-3. You could also make the argument for Garrett Wilson and Drake London, but we're going to talk about them in a couple picks. So Kenneth Walker at the 1-3. Wow. And okay, we got the 1-4 here. This is my favorite wide receiver in this class who I want to take a 1-4. I love him. I love Drake London. I think he's going to be a stud. He's trending in the positive direction. He's expected to be healthy. And he's not 6'5". He's actually 6'4". But still, I love Drake London. This guy has all the numbers, all the measurables. He has everything. He was producing when he was 18 years old. There is nothing I don't like about Drake London. I think he's going to be the best wide receiver in this draft. The only thing that matters is his situation, where he ends up. And I think Philadelphia is not the greatest situation for him. But, he's Drake London. I think he's going to be a stud either way. And it's just a little scary to see him having to play with Jalen Hurts. But, I'm fine with it. I am fine with it. I am perfectly fine with taking Drake London at 104. I think that is a steal, getting him at 104. And I think I'm set on him being the best wide receiver in this draft. Now, we have the 5th pick here. And I was talking about these other guys, and I think this is a whole tier. I think the 1-1 is a tier by itself. I think Breece Hall is going to be a demon. I think we can't even compare him to these guys. But the 1-2 through the 1-5, I think all of those picks are equal. I think Treylon Burks, Kenneth Walker, Drake London, and this last guy I'm about to say, Garrett Wilson. I think all 4 of those guys are equal people. And I love Garrett Wilson. I love him. He looked great at Ohio State. It's a little scary that he was never the wide receiver 1 there. But, he still looks really good. He passes the eye test, that is for sure. If there's going to be somebody in this draft who's going to be the next Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, it's going to be Garrett Wilson, because you can clearly see in the tape he looks good. And so we're going to take him at the 1-5. And yeah. Wow is right. And so now here is where there is a little bit of a tier drop-off here at 106. I feel like it turns into more of a guessing game at this point. It's always a guessing game with these rookies, but I feel like it becomes an even harder guessing game at 106. And so I have an interesting one. A very interesting one. I don't know if I'm agreeing with it now, but Chris Olave went to the Patriots in this mock draft that I was looking at, and Jamison Williams went to the Saints, and Isaiah Spiller also went to the Saints. So I think all 3 of those guys are a bit of a tier. I think they're a tier in themselves, but who's the best out of the tier? We got to pick the healthiest one. I got to go with Chris Olave at the 106. I really like Chris Olave. I hate the fact that he stayed there for 4 years, but it's whatever. He produced all 4 years, so what more can you ask for? I really like the guy. He's a really crispy route runner. I think his game is probably going to transfer to the NFL the quickest out of all the wide receivers in this draft. I think Chris Olave is definitely the most NFL ready out of everybody here, and I really like Chris Olave. I like him. And I want to say that Chris Olave is almost as good as Garrett Wilson, but it's so close. I feel like the 2 of them are very equal, but I feel like he's 1 tier down, just 1 tier. And so now we are sitting here at the 107. I didn't even talk about what would it meant if he went to the Patriots. I don't think he's going to go to the Patriots in real life. I liked everything else in this mock draft besides a couple people, and I don't think the Patriots are even going to draft a wide receiver in the first round because of the whole Devontae Parker trade that just went down. But if he did end up on the Patriots, it would be a really good situation. Him and Mac Jones would make a really good combination. And we only got a minute left on this pick, so we got to make this pick quickly. Now, if you're sitting here and your team needs a running back, there's an obvious choice. There is. And I hate the guy. I hate him. I think I don't want him. If I'm sitting there 107, I don't want this guy at all. But I feel like this is what will happen. And He's in a good situation, I guess. I think Alvin Kamara might still... We're not even talking about this. I think Alvin Kamara still might get suspended at the beginning of the season because he punched that dude. He punched the guy, and there's no way they don't suspend him for that. It's impossible. So I think Isaiah Spiller is going to be the right pick here if he ends up on the Saints. I mean, we've seen that offense work before with two rock star running backs back in the day with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara when he was in his rookie year. And so maybe they'll do the same thing. Maybe Alvin Kamara will assume more of that Mark Ingram role with a little bit of passing down work, and Isaiah Spiller will do the same thing. They're basically the same exact running back, so I find that a very weird place for him to end up, but, it works. And now we have the 8th pick. If you're sitting here at the 8th pick and this guy's still on the board, you lucked out. You lucked out. Simply, it's simple as that, because this guy, you could have easily made the justification for taking this guy as the first wide receiver in this draft if he was healthy. And it's got to be Jameson Williams here at the 108. I love Jameson Williams. He is very interesting. Very interesting just because of the fact that he went to Ohio State, couldn't get on the field with guys like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Then he goes to Alabama and goes crazy. Puts up 1,500 yards. I think it was, how many touchdowns was it? 17, 18 touchdowns? Some absurd number of touchdowns. And yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but I'm not really caring about the fact that he couldn't produce at Ohio State. I don't think that matters. I like Jameson Williams, and if you can get him at 108, that is a steal. He probably won't be playing at the beginning of the season, but if you're a team in Dynasty that's on a little bit of a rebuild process, Jameson Williams is a great guy to pick here at 108. Now, this is the next tier of people. We are sitting here at 109, and I don't know. You got to think, what I've seen a lot of mock drafts having is Christian Watson going to the Chiefs. And so if that did happen, I think we got to throw Christian Watson into that line, this whole conversation of 1 through 8. But if he doesn't end up there, in this mock draft, he ended up on the Jets. So if he ends up on a team like the Jets, I think we got to drop him back a little bit. So I'm not going to take him here. And somebody like George Pickens would also be interesting to take here, but George Pickens in this mock ended up on the Bears. And I love Justin Fields, but I feel like Justin Fields isn't going to really elevate his wide receivers, and if he's going to elevate, maybe George Pickens just because he could chuck the ball up to him, but I feel like Darnell Mooney's going to get more of an upgrade if Justin Fields gets any better. And so we're not going to go George Pickens here. And I don't really know. In this mock draft, Jahan Dotson ended up on the Chiefs, and I think whatever wide receiver ends up on the Chiefs, I think they got to go either top 9, top 8, top 5. They got to go in this draft depending on who the wide receiver is up front. And 109 is going to be a good pick for him. I think you got to take Jahan Dotson here if he ends up on the Chiefs. I think that just makes the most sense because it's the Chiefs wide receiver. I mean, that team has a lot of vacated targets. And Jahan Dotson could easily pick up those vacated targets. I don't really see why that team would take somebody like Jahan Dotson. It doesn't really make much sense. But I guess you actually could justify it. I guess you could put Jahan Dotson next to Juju Smith-Schuster. They're two separate types of wide receivers. I guess that makes a little bit more sense. But Jahan Dotson does end up on the Chiefs in this mock draft. And maybe you could even make the argument to push him up a little bit. You could probably make the argument to push him up above Jameson Williams. You can make the argument to push him up above Isaiah Spiller, maybe Chris Olave if he ended up on the Chiefs. Whatever Chiefs wide receivers there on the board, you're going to want to grab that guy because it just makes sense. It works. And now we are here at the 110, and I think we need to take a quarterback. Here. I know. Oh, okay, wait. Should have explained this in the beginning. This is not a super flex mock draft. I probably should have said that in the beginning. This is not a super flex mock draft. I think you might have assumed that by now, the fact that a quarterback hasn't left the board. But if you are sitting here at 10, I think a great quarterback for you to grab is Malik Willis, baby. You got to grab Malik Willis. He ends up on the Saints in this mock draft that I did, and that's a great landing spot. There's only two good landing spots I like for him, and it is the Saints and the Steelers. Those are the only two teams I like him ending up on. And if he ends up on the Saints, I think that front office, I think that team can really rally behind him and put him together very nicely. And he has Jameson Williams and Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. Oh, and Isaiah Spiller. which I don't, there's a lot of offense going on in this, and it doesn't make much sense to me, this mock draft, but Saints went crazy. The Saints went out and spent a lot of money, or not money, but they spent a lot of value on getting these picks, I guess, in this mock draft. And now we are here with the last 2 picks. We're basically shooting for the stars at this point, and at 111, I think this is the time to take him. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's get him. He's tall. He's fast. Ran one of the fastest 40s. I think he's 6'3". How tall are you, Christian Watson? 6'5". My goodness. He is tall. He is a demon. He is Christian Watson. He might be on the Jets, but who cares? He's going to be good. I like him. I like him a lot. And wow is the right thing to say. We haven't seen much tape on him. He really didn't produce that well in college, but looked great at the Senior Bowl, looked great at the Combine, and we're going to take the chance. We are going to take the chance on Christian Watson at 111, and we're sitting here with the last pick. We could have got Rachaad White. I don't remember where he ended up. I think he ended up on the Bucs in this mock draft that I was looking at. I think he ended up on the Bucs. And that is interesting. That is interesting. You could definitely make the argument for taking him, like, maybe even a little bit earlier than 112 if he ended up on the Bucs. But I like these other guys a little bit better than him, so we're not going to go with him probably. We're scrolling down a little bit. Where did James Cook end up? Was it Miami? James Cook ended up in a weird place that just didn't make any sense. But we're going to bet on upside. We are going to bet on upside with this pick. And we got to take George Pickens. George Pickens is an interesting case because he came out and produced as a freshman, so he has great numbers as a freshman. That's hard to do. Very hard to do. But after that, he was injured for basically the whole entire rest of the time he was in college. So he is going to be one of those guys who is a very boom or bust type of guy to draft. But if he booms, he could be the number 1 guy in this draft easily. He could be the number 1 wide receiver out of all of these guys. And if you're grabbing him at 112, you're taking a chance, but it's the 112. You got to take a chance at that pick. And you're going to grab George Pickens. Wow is right. And yeah, that's our first round. That's what I think the first round should look something like, maybe, if they end up in those places. So we got Breece Hall that ended up on the Buffalo Bills. It's the perfect situation. It doesn't get any better. He might even be the number 1 running back in Dynasty fantasy football if he ends up on the Bills. And that's going to be a pretty crazy situation for him. Treylon Burks goes to the Packers. Another crazy situation. That's going to be great for him. Kenneth Walker ends up on the Texans, where he's going to have I think he'll have a pretty decent workload there. I think they'll be able to let him play and let some of those older guys take a couple of carries away from him, so he'll be healthy for years to come. Drake London is my favorite wide receiver in this draft. I think he is the most talented, best guy. He ends up on the Eagles, not the best situation, so we had to put him at the 104. Garrett Wilson ends up on the Falcons, which is interesting because the Falcons are going to suck. And that's good for Dynasty just because of the fact that maybe next year the Falcons go and grab a quarterback in the draft, which helps out Garrett Wilson. Maybe they even grab C.J. Stroud. If they grab C.J. Stroud, that is going to be very interesting. Very interesting. We got Chris Olave going at 106 to the Patriots. Nothing crazy. Isaiah Spiller going at 107 to the Saints. Jameson Williams also to the Saints. Back-to-back Saints picks here. Jahan Dotson to the Chiefs. Jahan Dotson, we had to back him up a little bit, even though he is on the Chiefs. Malik Willis at 110. He's going to be the best quarterback in this draft. It's obvious. Christian Watson going to the Jets at 111. I like it, kind of. It's whatever. He has a lot of upside, I think. And we got George Pickens with the last pick heading to the, what did I say he was going to? The Bears. The Bears with Justin Fields. So not the best situation, but calm down. Yo, what are you doing? Okay, let the CPU auto pick. Let him do it. That's fine. Kyron Williams, I guess. Okay. But yeah, that about rounds it up. That's the end of this first round mock draft. And so that's the first round of our rookie mock draft. And yes, I know a lot of these guys ended up in weird places that just don't make any sense. Like, in what world is Malik Willis, Jameson Williams, and Isaiah Spiller all going to end up on the Saints? It's just not going to happen, but it's a mock draft. What more can we expect from it? It's a mock draft. Once the real NFL draft happens, though, I'm going to do another one of these videos, and it's going to be much more accurate because we're going to actually know where these people end up. But until then, I need you guys to do me a favor. I need you to go and follow the TikTok. I'm posting on there every day. It's great content. If you guys are watching from the TikTok, I got to say thank you for the support. Let me push it out of the way. Thank you guys for supporting. And please support some more. Leave a like. Leave a comment. Tell me what I should make some videos about. Tell me what your opinions are on my mock draft. Tell me what you're thinking. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. This has been the TCO Fantasy Football Show, and I need you all to have a wonderful day.